Hey there, Max Wright here, and recently I was asked what is the best way to hedge against a falling Bitcoin price? A pretty reasonable question given Bitcoin's current price decline. Now, I just want to be clear, I'm not a trader, I'm not calling a top or a bottom or saying you should hedge or should not hedge, it's not my skill set at all. I'm just answering the question, if you are going to hedge, what are the options available to you? And I'm sure there's going to be way more than the four that I'm going to discuss here in this video, but these are the ones that I know about. Now, the first three are centralized solutions, and the last one is a decentralized solution, a pretty cool new thing, actually. So we'll get to that in a second. The first one is a pretty obvious one. You can just go to your exchange, be it like Bitfinex or Bitstamp or Kraken or one of those, and just sell your Bitcoin. You're now in US dollars or whatever currency you choose, no longer exposed to the Bitcoin price. I assume everybody knows how that kind of works, so I'll leave that there. Now, the drawbacks of that one are, in fact, the same for all three of the centralized solutions, so I'll save that discussion until the end. The second option is a product called LOX, and it's from a Panamanian company called Coinapult. Now, I really like some of the investors and the guys behind Coinapult. Two of my favorite Bitcoin ambassadors, Roger Ver and Eric Voorhees, are involved in that company. And LOX is essentially, it's a hosted wallet, and it's a very simple user interface where you can lock the value of your Bitcoin to one of five assets: gold, silver, US dollar, British pound, or the euro. In this way, you are no longer exposed to the Bitcoin price. If you put in $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, a month later, you will be able to pull out $1,000 worth of Bitcoin if you locked it to US dollars. Doesn't matter if the price went up or down. Now, in the background, Coinapult presumably goes and secures those assets to protect themselves against the swings of price that operate against them. And so in that way, they stay solvent. Now, I believe the fee for this is around 1 or 2%, and I believe there is a $3,000 limit per transaction with them. Fortunately, there is no KYC or AML nonsense. There's none of that, so you can protect your privacy and you can maintain your privacy with this product, but I believe it is not available to US customers. Again, we'll talk about the drawbacks of a centralized solution in a moment. The third option is a company from the UK, and it's called Netagio. Now, Netagio allows you to transfer in between Bitcoin, British pound, and 100-gram gold bars that are physically stored by them, I believe in Switzerland. They do have a KYC AML component, so you do sacrifice your privacy when using Netagio. And the fees, I'm not exactly sure, but they do actually store physical 100-gram gold bars, and that will come at a cost. I would expect fees to be around about the 2 to 5% mark. Now, on the plus side, as recently as September of 2014, they just passed a full audit by an independent auditing firm, BDO. And so all their gold, all their Bitcoin, and all their British pound were present and accounted for. So that lends itself to a lot of trust to Netagio, and presumably they will do that at regular intervals, similar to what they do at Gold Money. Now, the downside to the three solutions mentioned so far is they're centralized solutions to the decentralized world of cryptocurrency. And just a quick list of some things that you have to trust when you go into a centralized environment. You have to trust that the management is honest. You have to trust that management is competent. You have to trust that they don't get hacked. You have to trust that employees don't run off with the Bitcoin. You have to trust their systems are backed up and that a record of your deposits are not lost. All of these companies interact with and hold funds in the banking system, and so you have to hope there's not a Cyprus-style bail-in with their banks or that their bank goes insolvent. The physical gold is stored somewhere, and that's subject to confiscation by authorities. If you're being sued, going through a divorce, or under investigation of some sort, and a court order compels these companies to confiscate your funds, then your funds will be confiscated. The list is nearly endless of the things that could go wrong when you have to trust a centralized service. Now, lest we forget the infamous Goxing incident, where I think most of the things on that list happened to Mt. Gox within about 1 year, and like that, $700 million worth of customer deposits are gone. The promise of blockchain technology is that Goxing can't happen. All of those pitfalls associated with centralization can't happen. We hold the private keys to our wealth. We don't rely on any third parties. No trust is required, and we have zero exposure to the whims of governments. You'll notice in my assessment of those other options, I mentioned the jurisdiction that they're from and what I know of the investors. That's because you have to trust all of those things. Now, with blockchain technology, that eliminates all of those risks. Plus, with centralized solutions, because there's the regulatory burden, often they are more expensive than decentralized options. Eliminating all of those issues is where the fourth option shines. It's a decentralized solution for the decentralized world of crypto. Now, it has its own risks, to be sure, and I'm going to cover those in a moment, but all of the risks above associated with centralization are eliminated. This solution is just one example of a brand new, very promising industry being built on blockchain technology. So we all know Bitcoin is a currency solution built on top of blockchain technology. Well, BitShares is a decentralized asset exchange and banking solution built on blockchain technology. In short, what Bitcoin is to currency and payment networks, BitShares is to banking and asset exchanges. The possibilities of such an exchange are endless, but let's confine ourselves to the concept of hedging against Bitcoin prices. Now, on this decentralized exchange, it is possible for users like you and I to take opposing views in the future price of pretty much anything. On BitShares X, already a marketplace is developed around a crypto asset called BitUSD. BitUSD is a decentralized version of the LOX product offered by Coinapult. If you would like to not be exposed to the Bitcoin price volatility, you could buy BitUSD with your Bitcoin. A BitUSD is effectively a cryptocurrency that tracks the price of the US dollar. You hold the private keys to your BitUSD and you rely on no third parties. You're not required to trust anybody. Just like Bitcoin, it is cryptographically secured. So how is BitUSD created? Well, that's the cool part. Instead of a centralized body like a Coinapult or a Notagio taking that hedge, anybody like you and I can choose to take that hedge, effectively decentralizing the services offered by those companies. The key here is that if I wanted to be the Coinapult in this example, I have to put up collateral to make sure that I have sufficient funds to cover your position on BitUSD. In the world of BitShares X, I actually have to put up 200% collateral. If the price moves against me and I only have 150% collateral, then I either have to add in more collateral or the decentralized exchange automatically liquidates my position, covers your position, and gives me whatever is left. Now, because this is happening on a crypto-to-crypto decentralized exchange, we don't have to be paired up. So in the example of like a localbitcoins.com, localbitcoins.com is a decentralized exchange for Bitcoin to fiat. Because you're operating in the fiat world, you have to actually find somebody and deposit fiat into their bank account or meet up with them at a coffee shop or whatever. They have to actually pair people up. But with crypto to crypto, the decentralized exchange handles all of that and we don't need to be paired up. So in fact, anybody can create BitUSD simply by allocating 200% collateral and locking that away as security. After that, anybody can buy BitUSD on the open market. It's kind of like back when the Federal Reserve notes were backed 100% by gold. Well, BitUSD is backed 200% by another collateral. Well, it would have been really, really neat if Bitcoin could have been that collateral, but the Bitcoin protocol wasn't designed with that in mind. That's okay, Bitcoin is doing an awesome job of being a cryptocurrency. BitShares was specifically designed for this task. It is a decentralized asset exchange and bank, and it does this task very, very neatly. So the collateral is shares in BitShares X. Now, BitShares X is the fourth biggest altcoin according to coinmarketcap.com. Although it's not really an altcoin in the sense that it's not competing with Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency space. BitShares X is a leader in a brand new space. It's the decentralized banking and exchange space. Now, I should mention that BitUSD is not the only crypto asset being traded on the BitShares X exchange. There's also BitGold, and that's a crypto asset that tracks the price of gold. There's BitCNY, which tracks the price of the Chinese yuan. There's also BitBTC, which tracks the price of Bitcoin. And I should mention that you can go ahead and create any collateralized derivative that you wish. So you could create BitSLV, which is BitSilver, or you might create a basket of goods like, say, wheat, oil, and corn. There is another very cool feature I should mention, though. Just like on the Bitcoin network, there are small transaction fees associated with transactions in BitUSD. But on BitUSD, those transaction fees are actually paid to BitUSD holders as interest. So right now, the interest rate is around 1.5% per annum. That means you earn 1.5% interest just for holding BitUSD. It's just like the old days when banks used to actually pay you interest for your deposits. Let's just deviate from the hedging conversation for a second, because if you add all this up, it's actually a total game changer. So it is now possible to hold a cryptocurrency that's pegged to the US dollar that pays you more interest than your bricks and mortar bank, and I would suggest is even more secure. So let's line those up side by side so we can compare. You can put your money in a traditional bank where you have to give up your privacy. Your funds can be confiscated either on an individual level or Cyprus style. In terms of securitization, well, the banks in America and Europe at least have to use creative accounting techniques, let's say, just to be solvent. Now, a portion of those funds are insured, but by a woefully underfunded insurance program, and they're backed up by insolvent governments. So I would argue your funds are not collateralized in a traditional bank. And for this privilege, they pay you near 0% interest. As Doug Casey says, this is risk without reward. Or you can put your US dollars into a cryptocurrency like BitUSD that is pegged to the US dollar. There you can keep your privacy, your funds cannot be confiscated, they are openly, transparently, and cryptographically secured by 200% collateral, and you will earn a small interest rate of 1.5%. There is now officially no reason whatsoever to hold your money in a bank. This is very exciting times for the world of crypto. Okay, back to the hedging conversation. Now, everything about BitShares X and BitUSD is cryptographically provable and open source. All of the pitfalls of centralization have been avoided, and you don't have to trust anyone. You just have to trust mathematics, code, and economics. So is it the perfect solution? Well, not at all. There are 4 risks or pitfalls that I've kind of identified so far, and I'm sure I'll come up with more in the future. But to begin with, the underlying collateral is crypto shares. Now, I'm very excited about BitShares X, and I think it's a really important part of the decentralization revolution. Thanks to Satoshi's invention of the blockchain, another industry filled with corruption and backroom deals just bit the dust. But young companies are often subject to violent swings in valuation. Now, if BitShares X's value was to suddenly decrease by 50% in a very short amount of time, I'm talking like an hour or two, then it is possible that your BitUSD would be uncovered, and that would mean a loss of funds or portion of them, right? Now, that's, I think, a very unlikely event, but something that you need to be aware of. The second concern is that it might seem a little bit circular to secure or hedge against a crypto coin's price like Bitcoin with an asset collateralized by another crypto. I mean, after all, when the Bitcoin price goes up and down, usually most of the other altcoins follow with it. For example, in the last 5 weeks, Bitcoin is down 40%, Litecoin is down 40%, and most of the other altcoins are as well. But in this instance, because BitShares X is not competing with Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency space, we've been noticing that its price does not really track well with Bitcoin. Over that same time period, it stayed at a steady 3 cents per share, and so it doesn't sound, it's not as circular as you might first think. The third issue is that you still need to go through a centralized exchange, albeit briefly, to convert your Bitcoin to BitUSD. Now, once that happens and you have your BitUSD, you can trade easily on the BitShares X decentralized exchange between BitUSD, BitGLD, BitBTC, and lots of other fully collateralized derivatives. But you still do have to go through that initial step. Now, it is a crypto-to-crypto exchange, and so you don't have to sacrifice your privacy. I usually use bter.com, and you can do this with just an email and nothing else. Now, it is important, you can deposit the Bitcoin, transfer to BitUSD, and then pull the BitUSD back out and bring it into a wallet that you control, one where you have the private keys. Otherwise, you have all of the same problems and concerns that you do with centralized solutions. Now, as a side note, by the way, in the next month or two, I believe you're going to be able to transfer straight from fiat into BitUSD and back again. Now, that's really significant. For the first time ever, there'll be a cryptocurrency with the stability of the United States dollar that you can transfer in and out of fiat. Now, that could really shake things up because I think that might be a stepping stone to another industry being decentralized, the Bitcoin payments processor industry. Think of a decentralized BitPay or Coinbase. Hopefully that's in our very near future. So subscribe to this channel and I'll keep you up to date with that. The fourth drawback is that because BitShares X is quite new, the user interface experience is still not quite where they would like it to be, but it is getting better quickly. In fact, I've seen the mock-ups for the new client and it looks really, really cool. So be patient with it. Now, I guess as a conclusion to kind of tie all this up, I think the dream scenario would be for the guys at Coinopult to use their awesome UI and experience, but build it on top of the BitShares X decentralized exchange. That would be like having a blockchain.info wallet where we hold the private keys, but you still have the lock features of Coinopult. So maybe something for us to look forward to in the future. So, okay, guys, that's it from me. Please, if this video was helpful, feel free to like it, share it far and wide. And below, you'll find links to all of the services I mentioned in this, including where you can download a BitUSD wallet. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.